Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my number 3 pick on my top 10 Transformers list. This one is Transformers Alternity Bumblebee. Now this is the only Japanese figure that's on my list. Everything else is from Hasbro and was available at some point over here in the West. Yeah, the Alternity line was the sequel line to Transformers Alternators, basically, because obviously, realistic car mode, it's an actual car make, actual version of a car, trying to be more complicated, using a little more metal than most Transformers use, and stuff like that. It's the same kind of design intent and stuff like that. The unique gimmick of the Alternity line was primarily that the story was based around all of the characters being gods, effectively. So this Bumblebee, his two little pistol gun things could shoot through time and space and stuff like that, and could kill you at various points in time at the same time. It was really weird and interesting. If you're interested in Transformers kind of lore and stuff like that, look up some of the stuff about this Alternity line. It's pretty crazy. But Bumblebee here is based on the Suzuki Swift, which is obviously an actual car. I think this is from around 2008 or 2009, possibly 2010. I can't remember exactly when this car came out, and when this figure came out off the top of my head. But either way, Suzuki Swift is probably one of my favorite kind of normal looking cars. That's not just like a supercar or anything like that. So I really liked that. That was one of the main reasons I actually got this guy. Other figures in this line were there was an Optimus based on the Nissan GTR. I have a Thundercracker based on the Mitsuoka Orochi car. Other than that, yeah, here's the car. The big thing about this, obviously, is that it's a Japanese higher end figure, even though this is basically a deluxe size car. It cost around, 40 euros or something like that. It's got rubber tires, a lot more metal parts throughout. It's a lot more complicated and a lot more detailed than most normal deluxes. You can see that, Suzuki logo on the front, Suzuki logo on the back. Red plastic here for the headlights. Lots of paint for basically every detail you'd almost expect from a car. The silver painted kind of exhaust pipes. Little silver paints all over here on all the front details, different colored plastic there. All the windows are see-through. All the doors can be opened. Inside the front, there is, there's a steering wheel right there. There's two kind of seat, basically things here in the front. Over here, you can see the dashboard basically as well. And while there's still, of course, stuff like that support strut to keep everything together there, because it's a transformer and it transforms, they do their best to make it look just like a model car basically in vehicle mode. Not much to see in the back because you can't open the doors as wide as you can other places, but they do their best to basically make it look like a back seat and stuff like that. The back is a little bit harder to open than other things in that this is a transformation joint, but to actually activate the kind of boot joint, you kind of have to open it up again. And you can see in the back there, there's the head right there, but for the most part everything's hidden. There's a nice space there to make it look like an actual boot of a car. But for the most part, it's just a nice feature that you'd expect from a kind of more detailed vehicle mode. Just close that up, and then the other thing to show is just the underneath the hood or bonnet here. You can see the word Suzuki. Maybe you can't see it so well, but it says Suzuki right here on the engine cover, and right there, it looks like an engine. Nothing here inside here, just looking at it now, screams that it's a transformer, and that's really cool. Obviously, if you lift this up, you can see that they're the two guns there linked together, and this is obviously where the split is for the legs. But it looks really nice. And then underneath, apart from the head and maybe this gap here, you can't really obviously tell that it's a transformer. There's a lot of joints and stuff like that, but you really have no idea where everything goes. So pretty nice vehicle mode overall. Now, the transformation is very unique. As I said, even though it's a deluxe size transformer and you'd expect it to be under 10 steps and stuff like that, there's a lot of complexity here. Because the instructions were in Japanese, it took me a little while to get used to it, because this was probably one of the first really complicated Transformers I got. So there was a lot to learn about how some of this stuff worked. But the first transformation step is to open up the kind of bonnet, pull up the engine cover, and that basically just means there's nothing restricting the movement of kind of the transformation of the kind of legs here, which is this front section of the car. But it also frees up this gimmick from working. And when I say gimmick, it's more of just, you know, a little bit of automorph in the transformation and the kind of the key way that the transformation for this guy was designed. And there's this little section here. Right now it's kind of folded up, it's not activated. You just tilt this down, and then you can see here there's a kind of tab on it just there. When you slam this thing down, that tab goes into that slot, and there's a kind of spring-loaded mechanism that's going to make this pop out just a little bit more. It's just going to, you'll see this gap get bigger here, this little line here. Just going to move down a little bit, and that will activate basically the overall automorph transformation to happen when I want to activate it. So here's what happens. I'm just going to press it in, and you'll see it just moved away a little bit. That loosens that up, and we can now basically do the other automorph part of the transformation when we need to. But first we'll transform the legs, and what you do here is you basically just take this, you know, black bit here and just like tilt it down. But first we'll just separate the two legs, then we'll grab that black bit, and you see you just tilt it down like that, and then you grab the yellow bit at the front and then tilt that down this way. It's just separating out the legs, so you basically extend everything out. And they're very interesting looking legs on this figure for sure. But yeah, we just separate that down, grab the heel and tilt that out. And then with the front, you just tilt this bit in at the side like so. And the legs don't look like much right now, but until we have the rest of them fully transformed, we won't fully make them look nicer. And you just do the same on the other side. Extend everything out, get the heel out, and then flip that bit in, and then roughly make him look like he's ready to stand up. There we go. So then, after this, we're still not ready to do the kind of automorph feature, but you use the transformation joint this time on the bonnet, and then you just kind of tilt the hood down like that. Then you grab the back door panel here and just tilt it up. Just takes the whole back door with it basically, and do the same on the other side. Now this whole section here is basically the backpack of this guy. Next, this is where the automorph transformation is basically going to come into play. This is really unique. You can see this column here that goes throughout the entire transformer, and when we activated this bit by pulling the panel down, what it did was just, this bit's on a little bit of a spring-loaded feature. If I didn't have that in place, let me just actually show you that. I'll unhook that bit. If I click this bit up, it locks into place. When I click it down, it springs back like that. And when it's locked in like that, it means I can actually pull the legs down, and that will move the whole spinal column of this guy down a bit, which will move the head into place where it's meant to be, and will also make the arm sections here tilt down, so they'll be facing at like a 90-degree angle. It's a really interesting thing that actually works. So let's activate this. I'll just move the camera up a little bit more so I can actually show this effectively. So I'm going to pull the legs down, obviously straight down this way, and you should see this section kind of move up like that. So let's see, does it work? Roughly, yeah, basically. So you got the idea. I basically pulled more of the spine through. The head is now basically closer to the kind of torso area here, and it's moved these bits kind of back into position like so. So, very interesting stuff going on there. Next thing we do, we split this part in half and then just tilt those two out to the side. And you can see straight away there's the arms folded up, and we just fold them out like so. Fold the wrist out, and in here you just twist this bit so it becomes a kind of nice panel on this forearm. And then we do the same on this side. Spread everything out, tilt around, and you also tilt these bits down as well behind the yellow sections. And we'll finish off his arms in a second. But then what you do is you actually, the reason that the wheel bit, when I activated the automorph transformation, didn't go fully down 90 degrees is because you can sort of see here when I move this bit you actually bring all the way over here. let me just fix this. You can see here on this bit here, there's these two little hook sections here, one on this side, one on the other side. They're going to hook behind basically this little bit, and then you bring the whole section down, and that kind of locks the backpack in place so it's not swinging around. So you just bring that down here so it hooks over those two sections, and then just put it down like that, and it's kind of roughly in place. So that's that. And then all you do is you just move this little panel is kind of down like that. You just tilt that down. There's the Autobot logo in place. And the final main bit of the transformation before we just fix everything into place is just you move the two horns out of position there. So that just keeps the horn safe while it's in vehicle mode. To finish up the transformation, you just tilt the wrist here. So the hands are facing the right way. And then with the legs, and we have to do a little bit with the torso as well, it's just flip the kneecaps down, and then you can see these two pins aren't in line, and what all you do there is just kind of maneuver it so that they're in line and facing the right way. And then we just make it so that his legs are actually straight. Then the final step of the transformation here is just in here. I don't know if you can quite see it there. There's two little pegs here, and then there's two peg slots in the engine cover. You just slot the engine cover over those two slots, and that locks basically the torso in place, and that stops the kind of spinal transformation automorph thing from basically reversing. And so that is Alternity Bumblebee in robot mode. I think it is a really cool looking figure in robot mode. Just the general design of just, you know, the wheels, the wheels that look really nice, being the integral parts of the shoulders here, the really nice face sculpt, the kind of the kind of chest comes out a little bit much and makes him look a little bit fat, you know. But in general, I like the idea that, you know, what that automorph has also done is it's taken the front windshield and basically moved most of it out of the way so that it's just kind of yellow, just kind of like a big gap between them. It's a pretty cool like effect that you get. The nice knee pads here, the way just the little panels of the car mode are now kind of parts of the sides of his legs. The front of the car is kind of his feet, and then the wheels are in his ankles, which is always an effect I like. There you've got the kind of back bumper on the outsides of his arms, and then even though like looking at him from the back, it looks like a pretty big backpack. But in person, it doesn't really feel that big, because I usually don't mind Transformers that have the kind of door wings on the back, and then the kind of rear window, it tilts down enough to where it doesn't really stick out that much. So it all together, to me, is a fairly clean transformation that like looks really nice. I really like this figure overall. Yeah, in terms of articulation, let's cover this quickly. Head can look up, you can look down only a little bit, not too much, but you can tilt it all the way around if you want. It's on a ball joint, all the kind of articulation you'd expect. Very nice. The arms can swivel 180, which is very nice. You can tilt them out, you can tilt them like obviously outwards 90 degrees as well if you want. You've got a 90-degree elbow bend if you want it, and you've got a kind of a bicep rotation, which is very nice. The wrist swivels 180 degrees, and because of the transformation joint, you've got a little bit of up and down motion as well, which is always nice. Nothing in the waist or torso, just because of how crazy the transformation is. In terms of the legs, the best thing about the legs, I think, is this. Basically, this works as an ankle tilt. It's not the whole ankle, it's just the front section, but it works the same because it is a kind of flat section here at the bottom. And so you can get some really wide stances on this guy. Like really wide, without it kind of falling over. Like, look how wide that is. So it's pretty cool. Also in the ankles, you do get a kind of up and down joint, primarily for transformation, but again, it works, you know, it's really well. And that's what most Transformers need to pose effectively, just a really good ankle joint. The obviously the heel spur can be moved a little bit, but you don't really need to that much. The knee, 90 degrees. You can even go back a little bit more if you need to, because it's not a kind of double joint type thing. The knees are a little bit loose, especially compared to the hip motion forward and back. But yeah, the hips can go out 90 degrees, which is very nice. Now, the only problem I have with the articulation is the hip going forward and back, as I just said. It's on a really tight ratchet joint, like you can really hear how loud they are. The problem is that if you want to put it forward, move the joint forward, it's just hard to get it in you're basically hold the joint in a position where you can actually move it much more forward than that, because if I want to move it forward, I'm basically crushing my thumb between the leg and this torso bit here. It can move forward more, it's just that if I hold it like below this so I can actually do it, I'm tilting the knee instead of the actual hip joint, because the hip joint is so much more difficult to move than the knee. So it's a little bit difficult. You kind of have to end up like moving it out to the side and then moving the joint forward more like this. But it can basically go forward 90 degrees if you need it to. It's just very difficult to get into that position because it's such a tight joint. But yeah, more or less that's all the articulation. You do have a swivel here just above the knee, which is very nice. Final thing to cover on this review is just the two guns, which are just here attached to the sides of the legs, which basically make up the space where the engine is in vehicle mode. And they're very cool because they transform a little bit themselves. And the guns are basically identical, except they have their peg on the opposite side. So obviously that's so they can peg in together like this to basically look like an engine. But, you know, here's how they work. You have the handle and you just tilt it out, and it's really cool because the handle kind of comes out as like an angle. It's not just straight, which kind of makes it feel a bit more like a real gun, which not a lot of Transformers have. And yeah, they just slot very nicely into his hands. And yeah, these are the pistols that can obviously shoot through time itself, so that's pretty cool. Maybe I'm mixing up Bumblebee's powers with Optimus's powers, but they're all about this crazy like time and space kind of attacking and stuff like this. But yeah, you can get some really kind of cool poses out of him just because he is very articulated, and he's just in general got like just a very cool look to him. Like, especially just with the idea that his weapons are just these kind of like small pistols. It's just a very cool looking guy. Definitely deserving of a place in my top 3. I know a lot of people would say that the Bumblebee mold for Alternity is probably one of the weaker ones, but personally I like it. I like the vehicle mode. Suzuki Swift is a pretty cool car. Bumblebee is a character who I don't mind as I don't hate as much as some people do, and I just in general think it makes for a cool looking robot mode. So that's my number 3, and I'll probably be finishing these this countdown this week. I'll probably have number 2 tomorrow and then number 1 on Friday. So look forward to that. But that's been the video for now. Thanks for watching, and bye.